everybody YouTube. I definitely have a different type of video for you today than what we usually upload. It's late March here in Vermont, definitely kind of a weird time of year. There's not enough ice to keep ice fishing. There's too much ice to launch the boat, and a lot of the rain has blown out some of the steelhead trips in my area, so there isn't a ton to do outside. What better time than to splice together the footage that we shot in December of me tanning the hide of the buck I shot during Vermont's 2021 rifle season. Let me preface this by saying in no way am I an expert on taxidermy, and this is something I've only done a handful of times. This process is outlined on outdoorlife.com. It's an article called How to Tan Your Deer Hide the Easy Way. It was published in August of 2019 by Becca Garris. I will provide a link to this article in the description below and follow along while you try to do this yourself. As I said before, this isn't something that I'm an expert on, it's only something I've done a handful of times. If this is something that you enjoy doing and you see how I do something and think that, hey, I can improve on his process, please let me know in the comments below. This is always something that I'm trying to evolve in order to create a better experience and better end product. Lastly, before we get into the video, if you're a returning viewer or subscribed to the channel already, I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and all the support does not go unnoticed and is always appreciated. If you're new to the channel, if this is the first time that you've seen this ugly mug on whatever screen you're watching from, do me a giant favor, or do yourself a favor actually, and smash that subscribe button. We have a ton of content planned for 2022, and trust me, you don't want to miss a second of it. So enough of the chit chat, and let's get into this.
To start off, I will say this process is astronomically easier when you start with a dead deer in your tree. After butchering and processing the deer, you'll end up with a hide looking something like this. And I might have let this one sit a little too long after I butchered the deer, which is why some of the leaves you can see are sticking to the hide. I like to start with a heavy knife. I have a Bubba blade there that's a stainless steel blade. It's not one of their titanium ones, so it's got a little bit more backbone to it. A fleshing knife works as well. You can order these on Amazon. Instead of using the knife, I like to get a small cut started and then use the palm of my hand. I'm a right-handed, so my left hand is on the hide, and I use my right hand to pull a large strip off at a time. Go slow here, take your time, and obviously the more flesh that you can get off the hide, the easier this whole process is going to be moving forward. After most of the heavy-duty fleshing is done, I like to bring the hide inside, and I'll use a very sharp knife to try to get the edges of where the hide meets the fur. A lot of the times this is the hardest spot to remove some of the flesh, and when this dries out, that flesh that's stuck on the end of the hide where it meets the fur can become razor sharp. So I like to take a really sharp knife or a pair of scissors and cut this off inside. Everything you'll need for this project is as follows: a cheap 5-gallon bucket, I bought this one at Lowe's, some grocery store salt, I like to get about 3 pounds, it's not very expensive, some cheap paint brushes that I bought from Ace Hardware, a scour pad, and some fine grit sandpaper, as well as this hide tanner's formula. This is available at most big box stores like Dick's, Bass Pro Shops, or Amazon. It's about $7 a bottle. Altogether for all these items, we're coming in at just under $30. The next step is to take the hide back outside because it's going to get messy again. Start with the first pound of salt and cover it generously all over the hide, skin side up, and do not be shy. Buy a lot of salt for a reason and cover every last piece that you can. Fold the hide in half, skin side down, and then roll the hide up like a carpet. Once the hide is rolled up, place it into the 5-gallon bucket. It's going to stay in here for 24 hours. The next day, take the hide out of the bucket. Like I said before, I let this one sit for a little too long, but usually there is more liquid in the bucket than this. The salt pulls out all remaining liquid from the hide, and it makes it a much easier process of the hide tanning solution to grab at the end. Shake off some of the old salt and repeat the last step again. As I said before, do not be shy with the salt. And like we did before, fold the hide in half, roll the hide up, and place it in the bucket. This will spend another 24 hours in the bucket in a controlled environment. The next day, we're going to get ready to put the hide in a salt bath. Take the hide out of the bucket. I like to bang out all the old salt here and kind of clean out the bucket because a lot of the times there's going to be some hair and some flesh that you missed in the fleshing process. And if it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, I am, but do not be shy on the salt here again. Place the hide in the bucket. And using cold water, fill the bucket with the hide in the bucket. I like to make sure that every last piece of the hide is immersed in the salt water. Like I said, use cold water. Hot water will make the hair fall out a lot faster. After 24 hours in the salt brine, bring the hide back out. Now we're going to wash the hide. In the article it says to just use the bucket. I found it to be a little bit easier to just clog the sink with some paper towels, and it becomes a lot more manageable and a larger surface. Again, with cold water, I just like to use Dawn dish detergent. Just like any step in this process, don't be shy here. Remove any hair or any flesh that you might have missed up to this process. It's going to be a lot harder to take off moving forward. Rinse all the soap and salt away. And we're going to put it back in the bucket. Now it's time to let the hide dry. I like to let this happen in the old basement at my house. It's a controlled environment, it's not outside, and I don't really care if the hide drips onto the concrete floor. I have this cheap paracord I bought at Sierra Trading Post that works well to hang the hide. It doubles as a cat toy. That's awesome, cats love it. I wrap that paracord around 2 support beams in the basement and make sure the line is taut. Hair side down, drape the hide over the top paracord. Over the next couple of days, it's important to keep tabs on your hide. You want the hide to begin to dry, but not totally dried out, as it needs to still be mendable to work with the hide tanning formula. I like to go back outside to break the hide tanning formula out, just in an exposed open air environment, and so it doesn't spill on the floor. Just like with the salt, do not be shy. The hide tanning formula, it's not very expensive. It says on the bottle that 1 bottle should be good for about 1 average deer hide. I tend to find that I go through about 3/4 on a Northeast whitetail. Use the cheap paintbrushes to spread around the hide tanning formula. And just like with the salt, try to get every last piece of the hide that you can. And if you're any sort of smarter than I am, which really isn't saying much, you shouldn't do this in Crocs with snow on the ground. I don't really recommend it. With the formula now set, it's time to bring the hide back down into the basement where it's going to need to hang out for a couple of days, and it's very important to monitor its progress along this amount of time. Once it's not overly sticky to the touch, I like to bring the hide inside and proceed to beat the crap out of it. In addition to hitting it with the scour pads and the fine grit sandpaper, I like to fold it up, roll it up, walk on it, and basically mistreat it in every way I could possibly imagine. Like I said before, the best way to screw this up is to go gentle in any process, whether it's with the salt, the fleshing, the washing of the hide, or with roughing the hide up afterwards. After a few days of well-earned abuse, you should end up with a hide looking something like this. There's no oil, soap, or salt to touch in the hide on the hair side. This is what it looks like on the flesh side. The sandpaper and the scour pads really help to get any color off. I didn't treat it with anything, that's why there's that yellow color to it. As you can see here, this could be a little bit softer. It does bend pretty nice, but like I said before, I think I might have let it sit for just a little too long after the deer was butchered. For comparison, here's a commercially tanned kangaroo hide that we have hanging around the house. You can see it's much more pliable and the hide itself is thinner. On the flip side, on the flesh side, you can see that it's been chemically treated as well as sanded at a commercial tannery. Now you have an awesome piece of DIY taxidermy that looks good on any bed, couch, or leather chair like this one.
That about does it for this video. If you enjoyed this or any of the other content that is up on this page, please hit subscribe. Follow along on Twitter and Instagram @WoodsNorthVT, and we'll see you on the next one.